Streaming live via the internet. Welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver internet via fiber optic, wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. Chat live with us weekly via ispradio.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technologies, providing ISP consulting, support, and hardware for wireless ISPs. TowerCoverage.com, providing online RF coverage maps.
Welcome to another edition of ISP Radio. I'm your host, Steve Grabiel, and I'm broadcasting from my home office in California. And we got Dennis Burgess broadcasting and producing the show and co-hosting the show from St. Louis. The word of the day is wind. It's been really, really windy. I just got a call from one of my relay sites with a 3-foot dish on his roof, and it blew over. Guessed that there was 70-mile-an-hour winds. Even in the heartland, we get hurricane force winds. It's just kind of crazy. Hopefully that stuff dies down, and it prevents us from going out and fixing things, that's for sure. Dennis, what's the word out in your neck of the woods?
You know, we had the same exact thing here. We had, actually yesterday was what we call a red day, so we had less than 20-something% relative humidity, and we had winds gusting at 50 miles an hour. So, plus it's been dry. So, fortunately for us, it's been dry, but now they were saying, basically a small brush fire could turn into something really big, really, really quick if you're not careful. So, that was our red letter day or red day yesterday. Lots of wind, but other than that, the weather is changing. It's finally getting warm. I have the barbecue fever. I'm ready. We're going to toss something on the grill soon.
Uh-huh.
Big things on the grill.
In California, because it's been relatively nice. Grilled up some hot dogs.
Well, California don't count. That only has one season. It doesn't count. It's not normal.
Fair enough.
So,
Dennis, is there any news on the front? We've got April coming up. Hopefully, we get some news from the FCC and the courts. Anything else other than that? Hopefully, coming down the pike.
No, not really. I mean, we definitely have the stuff coming down from the FCC. This is it's actually not from the FCC. It's actually from the district courts in D.C. And this all goes back to this open internet order. Is the open internet order applicable? Does the FCC have enough power to do so? Sky's the limit. We have no idea what's actually going to happen with that, so we'll have to see how it all works out eventually, because guess what? We just don't know. They could come back and say it's all gone. They can come back and say none of it's gone. They could come back and say only little bits and pieces need to be changed or corrected. Or they could come back and say, hey, we need some more information. So that's still coming down. I mean, we really don't expect answers in that until probably I'm going to say probably the April to May-ish time frame. March is probably a would be nice, but I would really doubt it. I'm really expecting something in April. And keep in mind, they'll probably also do this, is that they'll probably release a very, very short piece of information. So it's going to be something like, here's what we think it's going to be. Here's our basic information, a couple page document type thing. But then what will happen is we'll get this big, huge next thing, which is the big, huge report, if that makes sense. And that'll be another month or two. And even if they come out with that information, again, it's not going to be right away, unfortunately.
Right.
So definitely good things. We're working towards it, but it's not done. Not ready yet.
So we'll have a Wisp America wrap-up show, but you just got back from that. How was it, just in brief?
Tiring. How's that? Tiring. Very, very tiring. This was Wisp America in Louisville. If you did not attend, I apologize. You should have been there. It was a really great show. Last year we had, 550 attendees. This year we had over 700. So keep growing, which is always a really, really good thing. But the big ideal here is that since we had so many people, the hotel was great, the food was fabulous, the entertainment was great. We had some great other events and things that were going on that ended up really good. This year was the first year that we did Animal Farm at WISP America. And for those of you that don't know what that is, kind of give you a little history. We were talking about it before the show a little bit. Animal Farm is traditionally a show in Utah put on by either WB or Beehive Manufacturing and Chuck out there. And this was a show in which vendors can come out, and this is usually the big guys, Cambium, Ubiquity, those guys. They would come out there and they would have a roundtable technical forum. This would be, instead of just sales, this is the technical guys that are building the products there. And they are having and spending a considerable amount of time talking about the technical roadmap and the product roadmap and the challenges and how things work and how to answer all those questions extremely well. So it's a very, very good show. I've been to it, I couldn't tell you how many times, but obviously times change. This past year was the first year that they did not have an Animal Farm show in Utah. And that's fine. But what we did with WISP America is we contacted Chuck, who's always been the company that's put on the show, the Animal Farm show, and we actually had a Animal Farm track inside WISP America. So if you didn't go to Animal Farm, because obviously there wasn't one this year, if you could not attend, now all of a sudden WISP America was over in Louisville, and Animal Farm was at Louisville, where we had, again, same thing, where we had manufacturers with their technical experts and their salespeople there. This is not a sales presentation. This is the technical presentation that we really try to hammer home all the technical questions. And, Ubiquity and Cambium and Mosa and several other vendors had opportunities to get up in front of these people and to bring their engineers, bring the people that really know the hardware inside and out and are actually, part of making that hardware and getting the feedback directly from users is definitely exactly what Animal Farm is really all about. So, guess what? Now we have Animal Farm at WISP America, and as far as I understand, at this point in time, we are still planning to do a Animal Farm session track in Las Vegas at WISPapalooza in Vegas, which I am going to grab my little calendar here. For those of you that don't know, the ticket sales are not available yet, but we have a date, or at least a week. It's going to be the week of October 10th. So if you want to put it on your calendar stating that, hey, I need to block that out because I want to go to WISPapalooza 2016 in Las Vegas, that's the week. October 10th is the week. It'll probably be the 11th, 12th, and 13th, just like it normally is. But I just want to make sure I point that out. That is the week for that. We will have the expanded fiber weekend, just like we had before. So the 8th and 9th, we'll also have that fiber weekend, which turned out really well, or has been turning out really well year after year. So we'll have WISPapalooza the week of the 10th, and the preceding week, the 8th and 9th, we'll have the fiber weekend. Put it on your calendar. It is not on the site yet. It is not up there where you can actually register yet. And I would hold off on getting flight tickets just until the basic schedule, or at least the days, are posted, things like that, and the tickets are available. But just like always, this is going to be at the Rio again. But now you at least have a little piece of information that you can put up there and say, hey, here's the dates. Make sense?
Yeah, with a mini Animal Farm in it too, huh?
Exactly. So
excellent.
Good stuff, really.
Well, that leads us into our discussion today. We've got Craig Burgess with Siklu. He's the Western Regional Sales Director, and I believe he's in Las Vegas at a trade show right now. It seems like all you folks do is trade shows every week, doesn't it, Craig?
Yeah, I tell you, we get burnt out on them, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm actually out here at IWCE this week in Vegas. I'll be there today and tomorrow. So if anybody's there, please look me up.
You bet. So, Craig, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the industry, and then please get into Siklu and where they're at and where they've come from.
Right on. Thank you. And hey, guys, thank you so much for the opportunity to present on ISP Radio. It's quite an honor. A little bit about me. I've been basically building networks, if you will, in and around networks for 30 years. And, back in the mid-'80s when we didn't really have much standards or standardization, so it was a lot of fun back then. It was the Wild West. But spent some time in the 90s with Lucent Technologies, selling Class 5 switches and optical networking, and then spent some time with Motorola as well, in the division that was now called Cambium, if we're all familiar with that company. I was actually a regional technical manager for Motorola / Cambium, and then have spent some time with Extreme Networks as well, and then of course most recently Siklu. And I'll tell you, I am out of the 30 years I've been in this industry, I'm most excited about Siklu and what we brought to the table and what we brought to the marketplace. It's absolutely amazing. So I did bring a presentation. Is that up now, guys?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and put that up right now. There you go.
How's that? Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. So, so yeah, that's a little bit about me. By the way, there's my email address, craig.b@siklu.com. I know we've probably, in the wireless industry, we've heard the term fiber-like wireless, probably overused 100 million times, I would imagine. But nevertheless, I think we truly do have a fiber-like solution to bring to the market and to help providers build highly reliable, very scalable, very inexpensive networks in the marketplace. So, I love this little thing. It's, we have very happy subscribers. It's incredibly reliable. We give, we're able to connect, customers within, a day, literally. Most of our customers are able to tell their customers, just like in the multi-point world, we'll be there in days, basically. Today we're delivering up to 2 gigabits of throughput. Literally, guys, in the 60, 70, and 80, we don't talk about congestion or interference. It just doesn't happen. It's incredibly rare. I know that's hard to believe in the sub-6 space, but it's very true. Anyhow, it's very we don't even recommend a spectrum analysis when you do your site survey. So, incredible small footprint, carrier class reliability, and very unbeatable ROI. A little bit about Siklu. We're almost 8 years old now. We spent the first 3 years basically taking a look at what was on the marketplace at the time, and basically put together an all silicon-based radio. We're the first to achieve this in the mmWave space, and in the E-band space, I believe we're still the only ones to have a all silicon-based radio. What that did is it drove reliability up tenfold, and it drove costs down tenfold, such that our competitors in 2010 were selling radios or links at $25,000 to $35,000 a link. We came out in 2011 with our first product, sub $5,000 per link, basically. So we really came out with a bang, with a very high quality product at a very, very inexpensive price in terms of what was available on the market at that time. It only took a year, literally, to become global leaders in the millimeter wave space, and we haven't looked back since. So, in 2013, we brought out. So, in 11, we created the first TDD radio in this space, and again today we still have the only TDD radio in this space. What's important to that is that it gives you very cost-effective ways to build. With an FDD radio, you need 2 radios, so everything's double. So with TDD, we're able to save you on cost. In 2013, we came out with our first FDD brand, and have so that's a full duplex. And then today, or in 2014, we came out with our V band radio, which I actually have right here in my hands. Very small footprint. It's basically about 6 inches by 6 inches. It's integrated by about 3.5 inches. You buy a mount for it, sticks on a pole. It's got all your interfaces down here. It's IP67 rated. This is a full-blown layer 2 switch as well. So it's a hardened switch in the air, basically, we like to say. Nevertheless, in 2015, we came out with our 2 gigabit radio, the 2200, and it is selling quite nicely now, I should say. So if you don't know mmWave, it's a great graphical view of what we offer. So we just have an amazing amount. We have 17 gigahertz of total spectrum to work in, 10 in the E band, or 70 and 80. And 7 gigahertz of space in the 60 V band, 60 gigahertz space. We literally have 13 non-overlapping 500 megahertz channels to work in, and you can vertical and horizontal those. So that literally doubles the amount of channels that you have from one point to another. So this is why we say we literally have almost zero congestion, zero interference in this space.
Hey, Craig. I want to make sure I point this out, because I don't think this. If you go back a slide, I want to make sure I point this out, because this is probably something that a lot of people don't realize, that you're saying you run in 60 gigahertz and you have 10 gigahertz of available spectrum. All right.
Correct.
And I don't think people really realize how much spectrum that is. That is channel. Yeah, that is a lot of channel. Whenever we look at what people are used to using, a lot of people are using in our band, or in the unlicensed bands anyway, I should rephrase that. In 5.8, there's 200 megahertz total.
Right.
If you look in the entire 5 gigahertz band, we have 23 20 megahertz channels total. And you have, based on 10 gigahertz, you have literally 5 times more channels, all right next to each other, all with nothing else on it, all no DFS, nothing else to really mess with. All in that. That's just in the 60 gigahertz realm. 10 gigahertz of spectrum. So when we look at that, again, I just like to point this out, because I think a lot of people don't understand. We're used to using a 20 megahertz channel or a 40 megahertz channel. You have 19 250 megahertz channels in the 7080 and 28 in the 60 gigahertz. So there is so much more channel space. I don't even know if people can even fathom how much channel space that is.
No, that's a very good point, Dennis. And I say we literally have 10 times the frequency space, the bandwidth that other bands have. So it makes it, no more channel planning. I like to tell service providers, forget it.
Yeah, just put it up and enjoy.
No coordination, no coordination required.
In 6 months, go. Instead of channel planning, go have a party. So
there you go. Awesome. All right. I didn't mean to interrupt your PowerPoint, but I think this is really, really good information, because people don't know it.
Yeah,
they just don't understand how that works sometimes.
That's a very good point, Dennis. And I'll tell you, mmWave is really the best kept secret in the marketplace for the service providers. It really is. They're the ones that use it, that are our customers that I know, they absolutely love it, and they're buying it by the truckloads. But anyhow, so I like to show this slide just simply because this kind of shows that story again. I mean, this is 10 links or so or more coming off the same tower. There's just zero interference. So here's some examples in terms of radio deployments. Again, the one on the left here is our 60 gigahertz, the radio I just showed, which is our 600T. very unobtrusive. It looks like a junction box. In the middle, you've got a couple more of them there, and then over on the right, with San Francisco, we've got our 1200 series and our 600 series there shown. So very small footprint. By the way, those are 1 foot dishes there. So, we're incredibly fast in terms of from planning to deployment. It's a 5-minute online link planner. You get your reliability, predictive performance, etc. We have product on the shelf and distribution. Several major distributors in the industry, as well as partners throughout the industry. And then the install time. We've got guys that are doing installs in literally a couple hours total. It's crazy. So it's very, very cool. So I like to say, we kind of took something that's very small and made it very big, in the wireless industry. Today, this is last year's statistics, again, just showing, we are global leaders in the millimeter wave space, or at least it just shows the E-band space, but we are also global leaders in the V-band space as well. So, anyhow, on to the product, and guys, since we came out with our first product, we haven't stopped. We've brought out more and more product, which is a very good sign for a manufacturer. Which, by the way, we became cash flow positive. We're privately held. We became cash flow positive last quarter. Very healthy
Congratulations.
Company. So anyhow, the guy on the left here is that's our V-band. I showed you that guy. It's a 1 gig aggregate. It goes roughly about. We've brought out more and more product, which is a very.
Yeah, that was me.
That?
Try it again. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Did you have a question or?
No, I hit the wrong button.
Kind of broke up.
Yeah. That was my bad.
No worries. So the 600T is the it's 500 each directions. It's a TDD radio. It can be rate shaped, so you can do 750 up and 250 down. So in the service provider model may be advantageous. It's like we say, the world's smallest V-band radio on the market. That goes on street poles, sides of building. I like to say that's below the treetops, whereas more of the 1200 or the E-band radios are more for above the treetops, rooftop to tower, rooftop to rooftop, if you will. So moving on to the from left to right, 1200 excuse me, the 1200T and TX. That's our TDD radio. That gives you up to a gig half duplex, so 500 each direction, but you're going to get up to about a mile on that, maybe a little bit longer. And then moving up from there, we go into our full gig, full duplex, 1 gig both directions. And roughly that's with the 1200F and FX, and roughly give you about 2 miles on that guy. And then we've got the 2200, which we came out last year with the 2200, and that's the full 2 gigs both directions, roughly about 2 miles. And so, and then on to the next, which we're actually releasing this in April, is our 2500. And basically it's built off the 2200 platform, and we'll give 2 gigs up, full duplex, 2 gigs up to about 4 miles, depending on, of course, your rain area. So how much rain you have, so which area you fall in. So I can tell you in the Western region we have a very good atmosphere out here, so we propagate pretty well with these frequencies. So if you noticed, we have a couple, the T, TX, the F, the FX. Basically, this is kind of to give you a little bit of an idea in terms of the TX or the FX is more of a lean type product, whereas the T and the F are more beefed up type products. Honestly, the T and F were built for your small cell deployments for carriers. And so they wanted a lot more things built into it, like more QoS functionalities, more VLAN capabilities, and then Ethernet Ring Protect we built into that platform as well. And if you don't know what that is, basically we can build rings over the air. So we can go radio to radio to radio and build, point-to-point links in a circle, if you will, over the air, and have less than 50 millisecond failover, which is a pretty cool advantage. And without a switch, by the way, without a router, without a switch. So it's all built in. Kind of cool stuff. So obviously the T and the TX and the FX are a little bit less expensive products than the T and the F. So. We also have a feature. I'm going to get into a few features here, but we have a feature called Extend where basically by using with less than 50 millisecond failover, you can actually take and use our radios as an overbuild. Let's say in those up to let's say up to 3 mile distances. A lot of 23 gig out there that may need an overbuild. You can use our product as an overbuild. So let's say 3.5 nines you're operating on 2 gigs or 1 gig of platform, and then if the rain comes in, you modulate down and automatically fail over in less than 50 milliseconds to that secondary link. And that can be anything, a licensed link, a non-licensed, whatever, doesn't matter.
I have a question for you. On these products, on your existing products, are they like any other radio that most WISPs would operate with? As in, will they or do they have the option to modulate down in data rate to keep a link, or do they just run one rate, that's it, all the time, and if that rate can't be kept, then the link drops?
That's a very good, important question, Doug. Dennis, sorry. My brother's name is Doug, which, oddly enough, we both have Burgess, right? So Anyway, I apologize, Dennis. That's a good question in that, Siklu has 5 modulation schemes, basically. Before we showed up, most of the manufacturers out there had, 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most modulation schemes. So, it's hitless, adaptive. We go from top modulation all the way down. I think like 50, 100 megs, somewhere in that range is our bottom. But that's a very, very important question. So what happens there? If you do get some rain come through, you're instead of losing reliability, instead of losing the link, you basically will lose some throughput. Okay.
Can you set a minimum modulation so that hey, I have a 500 meg link with your product, and what I have is I have another link that say is 250 meg, like a 5 gigahertz Mimosa or something like that. So can I say, right, if I drop below 400 meg, I don't want to drop below that anymore. I don't want to drop. I want the link to drop and it to fail.
Absolutely, Dennis. So okay. You can block out the bottom. Whatever, you can block out any modulation scheme.
Excellent.
Basically.
Well, that answered that question.
So you can block it out and say. So then what'll happen is naturally it'll fell over right when it reaches that point. So you're not going to go down in throughput and then come back up when it falls over to the other link, right?
Right. How many Ethernet ports does your radios have on them?
It depends. The minimum is 2 ports, but we go up as much as 4 ports. So it just depends on the radio. So
any fiber?
Yes, we do have fiber interfaces as well. So it depends on the radio without getting into too much detail there. So, but yes, we do have fiber interfaces as well. So anyhow, couple of other interesting things we've just developed is we've got a built-in spectrum analyzer now. So I'm not going to call it a full-blown spectrum analyzer. I'm just going to say it's something to see if there's anything out there, right? So I realize that the Anritsu folks would probably cringe at how loose our spectrum analyzer is. So I'm not going to tell you it's dead on, etc. It's just a gauge, okay? So, which is kind of nice to have. You can kind of use it to see, hey, over time, is somebody interfering with me, etc. So, and you can also use it, when you first deploy to make sure that you're operating in a good space. So, we also have pipe mode. Basically, that means, so like in a 4-port radio. You can take port 1 to port 1, port 2 to port 2, port 3 to port 3. So you can have literally 4 different networks going over a single pipe. Kind of cool. And then we have PoE out as well. So if you need to drive another radio, you need to drive an access point, let's say a Wi-Fi access point, or a high-def camera, or whatever is out there. We've got PoE out built on.
That 48 volt?
So it depends on the radio. It's a good question. In the radio, in the majority of the radios, you can adjust your power per port, basically. So you have, I believe it's like, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's like 80 watts or something like that, and then we take a certain amount, and then we run the rest. I think we have like 40 watts to give on the other side. So
okay, well, I was more referring to voltage.
Brings up a really good point, because I'm thinking of this product in a specific area that I'm at, and one side is solar, and I've got a Netonic switch there that puts out 48 volts. Would that be enough to drive one Siklu radio?
Probably not. It just depends on the radio, though. We do have some that will drive on 48, but we'll need. By the way, every radio has a DC capability as well, which you can run neg 48 on as well. So neg or positive, actually. So
what is the standard voltage on the Siklu power injectors that you guys normally have? 56 volt?
60.
60 volt, okay. So normally it's 60 volt, depending on the power consumption. It may be able to take a 48, but we don't know. But the voltage out on the PoE port, that's 48 volt, or is that still 60 volt?
No. So you have like 40 watts to distribute between the two ports, basically. So.
Well, I understand that, but what's the voltage on the ports?
Yeah, I
don't know. Okay.
I'm sorry,
It's okay.
I don't know. I apologize. So,
it's okay. That's easy to find out.
Guy, so anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. So.
No, not a problem. Not a problem.
We can certainly follow up on that as well. So.
Right.
But nevertheless, so another cool feature we just released in our radios and our platform, which, by the way, all of our radios have the exact same software, no difference. You touch one, you've touched them all, which is kind of cool. But we put iPerf built onto the radios now, so you can hit it radio to radio, actually, or you can hit it from a laptop on one side to a radio on the other side. So kind of cool. This is what I call the San Francisco story. And basically, this was taken off the FCC website. These are only Siklu links in San Francisco that are registered. So obviously, that would be 70 and 80 only. And so literally, we've dotted the entire city with our products, with a number of providers out there. So I love this because this is our top provider out there. This is straight off of speedtest.net. They give awards, and if you go to San Francisco, WebPass is the top guy. WebPass builds with fiber and us, pretty much. So with mmWave and us, and fiber. They have a little bit of some other stuff, but for the most part, this is how they build their network. But pretty impressive, 300 up and down. And anyhow, I mean, you guys can go there today and still test it. It's a great story to tell. So if you look at us, we're kind of, there's point-to-point out there, ways to build networks. There's point-to-multipoint ways to build networks. And then there's kind of a new phenomenon we're seeing in the marketplace where it's more spider webbed out using our products. Because our products have become very affordable in this space, and we give incredibly high reliable, high speeds, etc. This is a neighborhood where we have 52 homes that are connected in a spider web type environment. These are all point-to-point radios, and these are the types of speeds that the homes are getting. 500 megs up and down, 900 megs up and down. Just pretty dang good stuff. So, but this is kind of in my mind, in our mind, this is the way we kind of see a third model, if you will, on how to build service provider networks. You can go from tower to rooftop, and then you start spreading out rooftop to rooftop from there, either with a let's say a sub-6 access point. I show a Wi-Fi, but it doesn't have to be Wi-Fi, or you use us mmWave to kind of spider web out in the neighborhood. Today we're incredibly successful, which, by the way, let me go back to the San Francisco. If you'll notice, this is the business district as well as residential. So our providers are actually using us to deliver residential single-family home internet to high-speed gigabit internet to the home.
Hey, while you're on that slide, I have a question. Go back to your slide, Omar. Maybe.
Which one?
Yeah, the San Francisco one. Which customer is out there in the water in San Francisco?
Oh yeah, I saw that. There's a couple of them.
They got a boat out there or what?
This is straight off the FCC website. So if somebody's got their coordinates wrong, then they've turned it in wrong. That's my guess. Is somebody turned it in wrong.
And they got some good internet out in the boat.
There you go.
Yeah. So, anyway,
good question there. So, but anyhow, we have over 35,000 units shipped globally. Again, fast deployment, unbeatable ROI. Multiple gigabit capacity. And guys, I got to tell you, we've got an incredible roadmap for the rest of this year as well as into next year. We continue to innovate. We continue to bring out better and better products, more throughput, longer distances, et cetera, and at a very competitive price too. Our goal is to literally be on every rooftop, every street corner. So, anyway, with that, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. By the way, I'm going to be at IWCE today and tomorrow. Please call my cell 720-355-5030, or email me at craig.b@siklu.com, and I'd be glad to visit you in the next couple of days if you're out here in Vegas. Otherwise, thank you guys. I really appreciate the opportunity, and if there's any questions, please.
So that box that you showed us in your hand, is that what we're seeing the bird sit on now?
Exactly.
And that's a fully functional radio, no dish needed to be attached, and you can go a half mile with that thing?
The only thing that needs to be is the mounting hardware. That's it. It's integrated antenna. So your radio, your switch, everything's inside. So these
all got to be line of sight?
It does need to be line of sight. So
gotcha. And you mentioned and you showed us that map of San Francisco, and you said you pulled that off the FCC's website. I thought this was all in licensed spectrum. Do you have to go through the FCC to get their blessing to deploy such?
So that's a good question. The 60 gigahertz is unlicensed. The 70 and 80 is what's called lightly licensed, and that doesn't mean you lightly hold it, or the FCC thinks very lightly of it. It just means it's very simple and very quick to get your license. If we contrast with the microwave licensing process, it can be $1,000 or more for the license, and take several weeks to months to get your license coordinated. In the 70 and 80 space, basically, to become a recognized operator with the FCC, it's $500. Anyone with a Social Security number or a business number, tax ID number, can sign up on the FCC website, and it's $500 to tell the FCC you're going to operate in this space. That gets you your, basically it just tells the FCC you're going to do that. Then every link is $75. Literally, that's it. $75 a link, and it takes. I've seen it anywhere from 2 hours to 24 hours, literally, to turn around from the FCC. Once you turn in the paperwork, basically the way the FCC has done it, they've organized quite a few of the vetting agencies. They keep the same database, and so it becomes very, very quick for any one of them to go in and look. Is this spectrum available from here to there, etc. So yeah, it's and you hold that for 10 years. $75 for 10 years. I'll tell you what, I don't know any other frequency, licensed frequency this cheap. I really don't. Right. This is, in my mind, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, buy as much as you possibly can, because this is incredibly cheap bandwidth to own, or frequency to own, from the FCC. It really is.
So I want to,
and those are one-time costs. The $500 is a one-time cost, and then the $75 one-time for 10 years.
Correct.
So I'm gonna.
Does Siklu help shepherd the ISP through that process at all?
We do, actually, and we also have, let's say you only needed one link or two links and you didn't want to pay the $500. We have a service where we'll do it for you. Now, it will go under Siklu's name with the FCC, so I like to make sure people understand that, but we hand over the license to the end user. So.
All right, Dennis, go ahead.
So I want to make sure this is correct. So $500 one-time fee to get registered as the agent, and then it's $75 a link. You can do that on their website and file the paperwork, etc. That license is for 10 years. So you are, or are you protected as far as the FCC is concerned once you've licensed that link, just like an 11 gig or any other licensed frequency?
Yes. You are protected.
Okay. So if you have interference, you can call.
What's that?
If you have interference or something like that, you can call up the FCC and go, hey, what the heck?
Right.
Gotcha.
Same process that you would use in 11, 6, 18, whatever. So.
A lot cheaper, though.
Yeah.
A lot cheaper. A lot cheaper, and a lot faster, too. So think about being able to, tell your customers, yeah, I can get you, a license up to 2 gigs in days next week. We'll have it up and running for you, and it's licensed.
What are the price points on some of the products that you sell? MSRP, if you will.
So we're basically anywhere from, I'm going to say, about $4,000 MSRP. 4,500, if you will, MSRP, up to about 11,000, depending on your radio. That's MSRP. So.
And that's per radio, not per link.
That's a link.
Gotcha. And does that include the required antenna if you're going further than the mile or two?
Correct.
So complete.
We sell in kits, and we sell in individual components. So the kits, I'll quote you the links, not the individual components. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so the $3,000 you just said was, or what did you say? $3,000 or $6,000?
About 4,500 is our
suggested price.
Right.
That's for one site, not the complete link.
That's a complete link.
Oh, really? Wow. Even better.
You just got his gander up there. There you go.
Well, I'd love somebody to get my dander up.
So I just want to point out that there was a couple conversations, a couple messages on our site on ispradio.com. Looks like Danny from Siklu is on there, trying to answer some questions, and he actually said that the arrow in the water is actually an island. There's actually an island there in your San Francisco map, so it's feeding an island. And of course, $75 is for 10 years. So you have to think of it this way: is you gain frequency coordination and have predicted performance with basically a service level and SLA, service level assurance on that for basically $7.50 a year. Whenever you really look at it for the next 10 years on those questions, it looks like the power output, based on what he said, so the PoE out would be 48 volt out. So this would be something like ruckus APs or cameras or things like that. The reason why I was specifically asking is because there are plenty of products that only take 24 volt on PoE, and it looks like it said, I don't know if he means 36 to 57 is the selectable voltage, or if that's the power PoE in range, and if that's the case, if it's the PoE, because you said it's 60 volt PoE in, right?
No, he's right. That's the PoE in. Yep.
Okay,
60 volt PoE in.
Yeah, so,
right.
Yeah, so I don't know what the 36 to 57 is. I don't know if that's selectable on the output or not, but I guess he may answer in that case a little bit more. I'm just trying to think of, one, can we power these radios with a product like Nettonics that can give us a decent voltage? A decent wattage. You can go up to 30 volts on some of those. The DC input range is 36 to 57.
Right.
So, and I'm assuming it's 48 or 48 volt in and 48 volt PoE out.
That makes me happy because at that solar site, I got the Nettonics there, and it pushes out the 48 volt high power.
Yeah. Well, the question was that they were saying that it's up to 40 watts of power. He says the PoE out can be up to 60 watts in power. So the really question is how many? Because with your Nettonics, you only get 30 watts total on the port, and that's in 48 volt high power. So the question is that enough to power a Siklu, one of the radios? And I'm sure it depends on the radio.
One radio.
Yeah. So, if not, you have DC, and you have so you can power it directly from DC, or you can go from there. So, lots of options there as well.
A lot of options, correct.
So you guys have quite a few different part numbers for, how many Ethernet ports? Is it fiber? Is it Ethernet? And that type of stuff, or does all the radios? So let's ask this a couple questions. One, does all radios have DC in?
All flavors do, but I would have, you'd have to order the right part number, right?
Okay, so there are some radios that only have a PoE in.
Correct.
Okay, so we have to. So the problem is there's lots of part numbers. You just have to make sure you order what you need or what you think you might need.
We've only got 5 different flavors, but not a lot of part numbers. So if you think of it, there's DC options, etc. There's fiber options that but those are really SFP ports basically. So yeah, I mean it's pretty much Lego, if you will. So you pick your radio and then
Sure.
Mounting gear and antenna. We in the 1200 series we have a 1 foot and 2 foot antenna. So you have those options there.
So,
and then we have DC power supply as well as our own PoE supplies as well. So
sure.
The bricks basically.
So let's go back to the range. In the new product, you're going to have up to 4 miles. Now that's in desert. What is more of a let's use something like in the Midwest, Chicagoland, in Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, that type of area. That's all the same range. I think it's range zone C. What is the recommended range on the products in those range zones?
So let me just say this. On that radio right now, we have a beta test going up in LA that's at 3.5 nines at roughly 8 miles.
That's in LA.
3.5 nines.
Yeah, 8 miles.
So yeah. So I mean, that's LA. That's range zone B, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is one of the top, right? So you're probably going to be, that 3.5 nines is probably going to be more in the 6 mile range for Midwest.
Okay.
Rather than 8, So
So you would say 4 miles, you should be able to have some pretty reliable.
Four nines are better reliability.
Gotcha. What is the power? Do you know what the power output EIRP is on those the radios in the band? Technical questions, right?
I don't know all
okay.
that. I apologize. Each one of them is different. I can tell you that.
Okay.
I can tell you this though. I mean, one of the things out there in the market that I think some of our competitors try to knock us on is our TIX power. Our transmit power. But honestly, if you look at our entire system gain, we're pretty stellar in our system gain across the board, and all of that information is on our spec sheets as well. But each radio has different power, different ticks, different system gain, etc. But we've got incredible receivers, so it's not always about transmit. It's you got to listen pretty well as well. So the combination of the two, we've got a pretty stellar. I would match our system gain over about anybody. So
let me ask this next question. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully we got something here. When we look at your products, you have the product line that has half duplex, and then you have the full duplex models. Now, my assumption is obviously one radio versus two. No big deal there. In the half duplex mode, so like you have the 1200 or the 600, right? These are up to one. These are 1 gig half duplex. Does that mean they strictly operate in a 50-50 mode? In other words, 500 by 500, or can you adjust that? Can it be 75 or 900 to 900 to 100? Is the transmit and receive and the direction selectable to achieve higher data rates in one direction if needed?
Yes, on our TDD radios, we can rate shape those. So it's 50-50 or 75-25 or 90-10, basically. Most people go with the 75-25, but for the most part. But yeah, that's in the TDD arena. That is definitely an option.
Okay.
FDD, we're not able to do that because we use a full channel both directions, right? So we really can't shape that.
Yeah. So you're gonna get 1 gig up, 1 gig down, and you're done for the most part.
Right. Now, a lot of the traditional knock on half duplex has been how much latency is induced, right? So the cool thing about mmWave in our products is we're incredibly low latency. We're at a maximum of 350 microseconds on our products, and we in some of our newer products we go down to as little as 200 microseconds. So yeah, I mean. Even with the TDD, that's only 350 microseconds of latency.
Gotcha.
So there's only like 100 microseconds more going TDD versus FDD. So there's really in my mind, that kind of eliminates the latency argument, unless you're dealing with a high frequency trader out there that that has to have zero latency, right?
Yeah.
All right. I got a question for you in the realm of the FCC and registration. So I operate in a place called RFL in New Mexico, and not sure if there's any 60 or 70 or 80 gigahertz up there. Probably is. But so say we go through the whole FCC thing like that, and you get the license and all that stuff, and it turns out that there is someone up there broadcasting in the 60 gig or 70 or 80 gig. Are we locked into a specific channel that the FCC is willing to give you, or do you have the ability to move within all those channels?
So when you register in the 70 and 80, you register a channel.
Okay.
So you are locked into that channel when you register.
Do they dictate what that channel is at the time of registering,
No.
or do you request which channel?
You request.
Okay.
And how would you, because of what's on the FCC site, you'd be able to tell what's there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it comes back, if there's somebody using that channel, then what'll happen is, the vetting processes they'll go through and they'll say, this guy is using this over here. They'll come back to you and say, hey, would you consider using this channel or, any one of these channels? And, if that's acceptable to you, then boom, you go, right? So I mean, it's a very rare case that we've seen that. It's basically, they'll come back to you and say, hey, this channel's used, consider these channels.
Gotcha. And so is there a need for a frequency coordinator? Because that's, a big part of the 6 to 18 gig world.
Yeah, so so the same frequency coordinators are doing the E-band as well. They're coordinating the E-band. So the same houses out there that we all know and love, they're all connected. So the FCC basically went to them and said, hey, can you guys federate, the E-band for us in a very quick and simple way? Because I think the FCC realized that this is a band that can be, utilized very quickly. It shouldn't be held up because there's so much spectrum available. So the frequency coordination is not, if you go to 6 gigahertz pretty much anywhere in the nation, right? I mean, frequency coordination is a bear. Try to get it, right? So whereas this, 99% chance no one's using that channel on that tower.
Gotcha. So you still do utilize those frequency coordinators that you've been using like before?
Correct.
Gotcha.
It's just a simpler process than the microwave process.
Gotcha.
But they're still involved.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, Steve, do you have any other last questions? I think we're about up on time here. If we want to get out early or get out on time, I should rephrase that.
Yeah, no, this has been an outstanding show. I appreciate Craig for being on the show, talking about the millimeter wave offerings that they have to offer. And, it's for short distances, but I mean, look at the incredible throughputs that can be achieved in short order, I mean, like Craig said, you could turn this around probably in a week, I would imagine. What's the world record turnaround what you've seen, Craig?
Well, there's some folks in Russia, technicians in Russia, that are claiming they get 7 to 10 links done a day.
From initial coordination in the United States, initial coordination to turned up service.
Oh yeah. So literally, in the E-band, you design it, you turn in your frequency coordination, you order it. We have plenty of stocking distributors, so you should be able to get your radios shipped either overnight or ground or whatever your choice is. Or a lot of our providers have them on stock already, so they're in days. Literally. If they have it on the shelf, then it's a frequency coordination, and within 24 hours they've got it and they're installing.
Mm-hmm. So would you say you could have something done in a week from initial conversation with your coordinator to turned up service?
Easily.
Yeah, he's saying he's saying most likely next day in many cases.
Many cases, yeah. Hey, and one of the other things that I failed to mention, I apologize, but when I talk to rural WISPs out there, the urban guys are getting it. They're seeing the Google fibers. They're seeing all the big guys out there coming after their market with fiber to whatever, or high speed bandwidth or whatever, right? Gigabit to, and we're a very, very inexpensive way to build a platform and deliver same types of services that Google is offering out there, with fiber at pennies on the dollar. So our providers are building in ways that, I think is a little bit non-traditional compared to the WISP market that we know and love today, or have known and loved. So it's a little bit different way of looking at it. You build like a spider web rather than, kind of throw it out there 5 and 10 miles. But, it's incredibly powerful. And, the service providers that are using us to build like this are seeing incredible success.
Excellent. Well, with that, I'd like to thank Craig Burgess for being on the show to talk about Siklu, and I appreciate Dennis producing the show and co-hosting it. Any parting questions? Can you throw up your contact information one more time, Craig? And Dennis, if you have anything further?
No, I think we're good.
I
think we're real good.
Thank you, guys.
Craig Dimpo, if you guys have any interest, you bet.
And with that,
go ahead and wrap us up.
Yeah. Before we head out, just remember that we do have another show next week. I believe we have Wismon. Is that right, Steve?
Correct.
Wismon's going to be on next week, and hopefully we're going to get a Wisp America recap show scheduled up here shortly as well. If you have any questions about our presenter today, Craig.b@Siklu.com, his, of course, email address is right there. Please email them for any type of questions, queries, or posers, or other informational tidbits that you may need about Siklu as well. And again, don't forget about WISP America and WISPapalooza coming up in October. Well, WISPapalooza, definitely would like to see everybody there as well. With that said, we will wrap it up for this week.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.